Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading back out to the Pac-12 as Washington heads on the road to play Stanford. And this is a Washington team that absolutely in love with. We've taken deep dives into. It looks like one of the best teams in college football. And although a sloppy win against Arizona State at home last week, and I think Kalen DeBoer said it best. Like, this speaks to the culture and where this locker room for the Washington Huskies is right now. Like, obviously, would you like it to be prettier? Would you like to not turn the ball over 4 times? Yeah, I get that. But being able to figure out a way to win a sloppy game, that is not easy to do at the college football level. Just go ask North Carolina, a top 10 team that lost to a 1-5 Virginia team at home last Saturday. Washington Huskies figuring out a way to get it done with the defensive side of the ball. I think that speaks volumes to where this program is at, a little bit more battle-tested. Excited to get into what gave Washington problems with Arizona State and then take a look at how we're feeling about the matchup with Stanford. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys and especially the Washington fans. We've talked so much about this program. I'm a massive fan of what Kalen DeBoer is doing and what this program is putting out in 2023. Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys. Y'all have shown a ton of support, so if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, I want to talk about that game against Arizona State, what we saw on the field. Let me know in the comment sections. We'll chop it up there again. I learned a ton from you guys. I love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. Without further ado, let's get into it. And I want to start with the defensive side of the ball because it's nice to see Washington, who has the best, if not one of the best offenses in the entire country, win a game on the defensive side of the ball. And this is a defense that we kind of said is getting overlooked, and partially overlooked because Michael Penix Jr. is putting on a Heisman campaign. Roman Duzne, guys like that are balling out on the offensive side of the ball. But this Washington defense has been pretty solid all year, 18.9 points per game. That's a top 25 metric for defensive scoring in the entire country. And you saw Washington go out and win that football game with their defense and specifically in the back end. And this has been by far the most improved unit for this Washington team from that 2022 season into this 2023 season. I mean, Misha Powell, like a pick 6 to win the football game for the Huskies. Talk about guys making plays. You love to see that. I believe a former walk-on as well. Jabbar Muhammad has been absolutely dynamite. You talk about impact guys, and we said this last week. Jabbar Muhammad might have the biggest impact as a non-transfer quarterback in the entire country. He has completely shored up this Washington defense that you look at the numbers, 57% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks. That's top 30 in the country. Bigger stat, only 6 yards per pass. That is number 16 in the country. This is a team that comes up, rallies to footballs, does not give up much separation, and really nothing comes easy against this Washington secondary. Really impressed with that unit. Thought the pass rush, still waiting for that unit to be elite. Braylon Trice, ZTF, all-American caliber players. You want to see them continue to evolve into being those game record players. And that's by no means saying that they have not performed well. It's more, if this team wants to win a national title, having 2 edge defenders who can be absolute game wreckers would be massive in terms of this development of this Washington defense. Now, I want to get into, before we talk about Stanford and what they do well and what they struggle with, I do want to talk about what Arizona State did to give the Washington Huskies struggles on offense from the film that I watched. Right, this is Washington offense that we spent a whole episode talking about what Oregon can do to try to break down and kind of stop Michael Penix in this Washington Huskies attack. And what Arizona State did was through just a ton of different looks, a ton of different blitz packages, and I think they really went after the true freshman center, right? When you have kind of a weak link in the chain, really good offensive tackle play for Washington, where they might struggle is on the inside, and they had to go to a true freshman center. And Arizona State went after him. Like a lot of A-gap blitzes, a lot of blitzes from the inside, A-gap, B-gap. And when you're dealing with the quarterback, Michael Penix, who's number 1 in the country in terms of taking sacks, does not take sacks, gets the ball out quick, you want to get to him quick. You want to disrupt him, even if you can't bring him down, right? Michael Penix did not take a sack that game. What you want to do is try to put him off the spot. And the fastest way you can do it is right over the center. And when they had an inexperienced center out there, Arizona State, and you got to tip their cap to him, identified that weakness and went after it. And you saw Michael Penix just never really settle into that football game. And I think part of it is when you have that tip ball in the red zone, just as a momentum play, kind of threw things off a little bit, but you never really saw that full confidence come out of Michael Penix during that game. And I think a lot of it had to do with Arizona State on the defensive side of the ball, just throwing a lot of different looks and identifying where Washington might be the weakest, and they went after it hard. Now, the second thing that I really would like to see Washington continue to work on, and it was really good against Oregon in college football, such a funny sport. If you told me Washington could run the ball successfully against Oregon, then really struggle to run the football against the Arizona State Sun Devils, I would tell you you're wild. It's exactly what happened. And I think I'm not gonna criticize Kalen DeBoer and Grubbs' play call. They're a hell of a lot smarter than me. I wish they continue to stick with the run game just a little bit. If anything, just to slow down that pass rush. But they didn't run the ball very well at all. I mean, you look at the numbers, 19 total rushing yards against Arizona State. That is a head-scratching number. And why I think that impacted the whole offense was you go back and watch that game and just look at the drive charts. Washington was consistently finding themselves in those third and long situations. That was allowing Arizona State to get creative with those blitz pressures. It's Washington. This offense is not going to go through the running backs, right? Because you have the best quarterback or one of the best quarterbacks in the country throwing the rock with a really talented wide receiver group. That being said, if you become too one-dimensional, it gets a little bit easier to stop this Washington offense, and them not being able to run the ball, I think, resulted in a lot of problems you saw from the Huskies against Arizona State. So another thing I'm looking at, one, shoring up that inside, dealing with some of those blitzes in the A and B gaps. And then secondly, just finding some sort of way to at least stay two-dimensional, right? You don't have, I'm not saying you got to run the ball 60% of your plays, but you definitely don't want to become one-dimensional where you're only drop backing and throwing the football. Getting into Stanford and some of the matchups, Stanford on offense really, really struggles throwing the ball. They struggle running the ball. And what I want to see from Washington here is getting after the passer. This is a team that is one of the worst in terms of pass protection. And what have we been saying? Braylon Trice, ZTF, can they play a little bit more of a role in being game wreckers of this defense? That's where my eyeballs are going to be. And I think a lot of it's just confidence. Like, can Braylon Trice, again, I feel like I'm saying they're playing bad. That's not even close to what I'm saying. I'm saying that if Washington's winning a national title, I think one of those reasons is because ZTF and Braylon Trice emerge as all-American caliber edge guys. And you look at Stanford, I think this is a perfect spot for Washington to really get after the passer. I thought they could do it against Arizona State. I think they certainly can do it against Stanford. And the secondary, you're going to have your hands full with that Stanford wide receiver one. If you guys stayed up for the Colorado game, this dude is special with the size and speed and body control he has. But this Washington secondary continues to be nails, and I'd expect them to continue to be nails during the Stanford game. Now, flipping the sides, so leaky secondary, and you're looking for a bounce-back performance from Michael Penix in this passing attack. Probably not many better teams in the country you'd want to play than Stanford. 70% completion percentage given up. That's 128th, almost bottom tier in the FBS. 8.3 yards per pass. That's 111th. This Stanford secondary struggles. I think, quite frankly, they don't have the athletes to deal with what Washington has on the perimeter. I think this is a nice spot for Washington to kind of have just a bounce-back performance. Again, it's hard to win college football games when you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds. There's a lot of variables in the air. Washington did not play great against Arizona State. They figured out a way to win. You want to see Washington rebound and get back to that swagger on the offense side of the ball, chucking the ball around the yard, moving that football consistently, hitting those chunk plays. One other thing I have in my notes, Michael Penix was 0 of 5, pushing the ball 20-plus yards down the field. This is a Washington team that had the most explosive passing attack heading into that game, and they really struggled, and I think partially due to pass protection, but really struggled to push the ball and kind of find those chunk plays through the air. I'm looking for Washington to get back to that kind of stuff. And again, am I worried about the Huskies? Absolutely not. Are you going to throw in some ugly, sloppy games? Every team does it throughout the season. The most important part is you come out with a win. That's exactly what the Huskies do. Bounce back performance against Stanford. If I was taking this game, I'd take Washington to cover the number, but more for me, just looking for Washington to bounce back here. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.